All right, so get ready, because we're about to take a deep dive into one of those books that you just, you can't shake it off.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
It's Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
It's a classic.
And we're really going beyond just like reading it,
Right.
We've got excerpts, we've got a foreword, we even have an afterword. And we're really going to unpack everything.
Yeah.
That makes this book so powerful.
Well, and it is powerful.
Yeah,
Especially, if you think about the context.
Yeah.
Frankl wrote this in just 9 days after being liberated from a concentration camp.
Wow.
In 1945. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about a heavy topic, right?
Heavy is an understatement, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
But what's interesting? Frankl doesn't just recount, the horrors of Auschwitz.
Right.
He kind of goes deeper. Like he talks about, arriving at Auschwitz and the selection process.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Just a finger pointing left or right.
And that's it.
And that decides your fate.
Just like that.
I get chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's pretty chilling.
Yeah.
One of the things that really strikes me is how Frankl describes that feeling of losing your identity. You become a number. They strip you of everything, even your name.
Wow.
And he really drives home this idea of systematic dehumanization.
Yeah.
But it's also a story about resilience because he held on to his scientific manuscript.
Oh, wow.
He saw it as this last piece of himself, this little piece that they couldn't take from him.
That's incredible. It really makes you think, what would you hold on to in a situation like that?
I know.
What would define you if everything was taken away from you?
Right. Like, what makes you you?
Exactly.
It's a really powerful question to ask yourself. And then there's this concept of the Muslim, which were these prisoners that had just given up. They were just on the brink. I don't know. Have you ever felt so overwhelmed that you just shut down emotionally?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like what he's describing here, but on a whole other level.
Right.
It's like when you have a mountain of work to do and you just want to crawl under your desk.
Yeah, exact.
But for them, that was their reality every single day.
Day in and day out.
And one of the quotes that really sticks with me is where he says that you get used to anything.
Oh, it's bleak.
Isn't it?
Yeah. But even in that darkness, he finds these little glimmers of humanity, like seeing the sunset or picturing his wife.
Wow.
These moments where he chooses to see beauty even though he's surrounded by suffering.
Yeah.
And that's a choice we all have.
Absolutely. But it's not passive, this choosing, right?
Yeah.
He was actively looking for ways to survive mentally and spiritually.
Right.
And he talks about how prisoners would express themselves through art, through humor, even if it was just for a fleeting moment.
Yeah, because as he argues, we need a reason to live. We need something to strive for. He saw people dying, not just from physical hardship, but from this lack of hope, this lack of meaning. So it's not just about surviving physically. It's about finding something to hold on to internally.
Yeah.
Which I think is so fascinating because that's where he gets into this idea of the will to meaning.
Yeah.
He actually believed that that was our primary drive.
More than anything else?
Even more than pleasure or power.
Exactly.
Oh.
And this is actually where his experiences lead to the development of logotherapy.
Oh, wow.
You could almost say that the concentration camp became his laboratory. Tragically, but it's where he really started to formulate these ideas.
So from this unimaginable suffering, this quest for survival, comes a theory about finding meaning in any situation.
And that's where logotherapy comes in.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And it's not about pretending that suffering doesn't exist.
Right.
I mean, Frankl saw it firsthand more than most people. But it's about the meaning that we create in spite of it. That's really the core of his message.
Wow. It's amazing, though, like how he puts this theory into action, right?
Oh, yeah.
He had this chance to escape.
He did.
But he chose to stay.
Yeah.
With his patients.
Wow.
I mean, can you imagine,
It's remarkable.
Putting his theory into action?
In the most extreme circumstances you could imagine.
Right. In the most extreme circumstances.
Oh, no, that really speaks volumes about his dedication, but it also highlights this idea that even in a concentration camp, we have choices.
Wow.
He could have focused on his own survival.
Right.
But instead, he found meaning in caring for others.
He even says that, if he had to die, at least his death would have meaning.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff.
It is.
And he wasn't alone in that, right?
No, not at all.
Like, he saw these acts of courage and compassion all around him. Like, people sharing their stories, helping each other.
Yeah.
These small acts of humanity become huge in that kind of environment.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, he describes this moment where he's guarding 3 prisoners. They were hiding in a water shaft.
And to distract the guards, they're playing this game.
Can you imagine?
I mean, the level of trust.
Wow.
The shared humanity. It's just amazing.
That's powerful. It's such a contrast, though, right?
Yeah.
To the dehumanization that they faced.
Definitely.
But he doesn't shy away from it.
No, he doesn't.
You know, he's really honest about the apathy.
Yeah.
The emotional numbness, those moments where he felt his own humanity slipping away.
It's tough. It's really tough.
It is. And it kind of brings us to this idea of the existential vacuum.
Yeah.
You know, that feeling of emptiness.
Meaninglessness.
Yeah, meaninglessness.
Frankl actually saw that as like a modern day crisis.
Really?
Yeah. Think about it. In today's world with all the information, all the choices.
We have everything at our fingertips.
Do we ever feel lost, you know?
Yeah.
Unsure of what we're living for?
I think a lot of people can relate to that. You know, we're constantly bombarded with messages about success and happiness.
Right.
But maybe the question we need to ask ourselves is, what's it all for?
Exactly. Frankl believed that this emptiness, this vacuum, stems from a loss of traditional values, a lack of clear purpose.
Interesting.
And this is where logotherapy comes in.
Right.
It's not about telling you what your meaning should be.
Right.
It's about giving you the tools to discover it for yourself.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So how does that work in practice?
Well, he talks about some techniques.
Okay.
Like paradoxical intention.
Yeah.
Which is basically intentionally doing the thing that you're afraid of.
So it's like facing your fears head on.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but
it works.
Well, he gives this example of a bookkeeper with writer's cramp.
Okay.
And by encouraging him to write badly,
Okay.
he took away that fear, the pressure.
Oh, I
He
see.
says by embracing the worst case scenario,
Yeah.
you free yourself from its grip.
Interesting. Have you ever had like a fear that you could apply this to?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like public speaking. Instead of trying to be perfect,
Right.
what if you just aim to make everyone laugh at you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That could take the pressure off.
Totally. And that's just one technique, right?
Yeah, there's also dereflection,
Okay.
which is about shifting your focus outward towards something bigger than yourself.
So it's not all about you.
Exactly. Frankl believed that this self-transcendence is key to finding lasting fulfillment.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like that.
He actually uses this analogy of a movie.
Okay.
He says each frame has meaning,
Hmm.
but you only see the full picture at the end.
Oh, I see.
Like we're constantly creating the meaning of our lives through our choices.
So each choice we make is like a frame in the movie of our life.
Yeah, it's a powerful concept.
That is.
We're not just passive bystanders. We're active participants in the creation of meaning, even in suffering.
And he doesn't shy away from that, does he?
No, he acknowledges that life is full of pain, but he says suffering can become a source of meaning. Not that we should seek it out,
Right.
but that it's inevitable,
Yeah.
and we can choose how we respond.
It's all about our mindset.
Yeah. There's this quote that I really like. To suffer unnecessarily is masochistic rather than heroic.
Wow.
It's about finding meaning in the suffering that comes our way, not adding to it needlessly.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of leads into what he calls the tragic triad.
All right.
Suffering, guilt, and death.
These universal experiences that instead of fearing,
Yeah.
he says we can use as opportunities for growth.
Wow. So it's like turning those negative experiences into something positive.
Yeah, it's about confronting those hard realities
Right.
and finding meaning within them. That's the challenge Frankl throws down.
And he doesn't just talk about it.
Yeah,
He embodies it.
he does.
Coming out of the camps.
Building a career,
Yeah.
helping others.
Sharing his message.
I mean, it's just this incredible testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
It really is.
And man's search for meaning becomes this guidebook, not just for surviving trauma,
Yeah.
but for finding meaning in everyday life,
Right.
which is what makes it so timeless,
Yeah.
so relevant even today.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's been translated into so many languages
I know, it's incredible.
and touched countless lives,
Yeah,
you know?
it's amazing.
It makes you think, like, what is it about this book
Right.
that makes it resonate so deeply, even, after all these decades?
I think it's the emphasis on personal responsibility. Frankl doesn't sugarcoat things.
No, he doesn't.
He tells it like it is.
Yeah.
Life is tough.
Right.
There will be suffering.
It's inevitable.
But it's not about giving into despair.
Right.
It's about finding that meaning,
Yeah.
that purpose,
That spark.
even in the midst of it all.
It's not about pretending everything's okay or ignoring the hard stuff.
No.
It's about looking it right in the eye.
Yeah.
And saying, all right, this is here.
This is reality.
But what can I create from this?
Right.
What choice can I make?
Exactly. And he gives us this really thought-provoking idea. He says, to live as if you were living for the second time, knowing you messed up the first time around.
Wow.
It's pretty powerful.
It is.
It makes you think, am I living this moment
Right.
the way I truly want to?
It's a great question to ask yourself.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into man's search for meaning, what stood out to you? What really resonated?
That's a good question.
Was there a particular quote or a concept or a story that you'll take away from this conversation?
You know, for me, it's that idea of the will to meaning as our driving force.
Yeah.
It's not just about pleasure or power or even happiness in the traditional sense.
Right.
It's about that deeper sense of purpose, that feeling that your life matters.
Yeah.
And Frankl shows us that it's possible to find that even in the darkest of places.
And that's a message I think we all need to hear sometime. Because life, it throws curveballs.
It does.
Things happen that we can't control.
It's true.
But as Frankl so powerfully demonstrated, we always have a choice.
We do.
In how we respond to those things.
Absolutely.
We can choose to find meaning.
Yeah.
To create purpose.
Even when it feels impossible.
Even when it feels impossible. And that, I think, is the most enduring legacy of man's search for meaning.
Like and subscribe for more deep dives.